Hey, what's up, gamers? It's your boy, Church of Caboose. And in this video, I want to share with you guys how I did the Vault of Glass challenge on Master Difficulty for the Gatekeeper. I forget what it's called, so if you're looking for the Gatekeeper challenge, then boom, this is your video. Now, real briefly, if you guys enjoy this content, make sure you subscribe to my channel as well as like the video. And as always, let me know down below if this video was at all helpful. All right, so there we go. All right, subscribe, like, comment down below. So why would you want to do Master Vault of Glass for anything? Well, if you do Master Vault of Glass, you know, it's what gives you some spoils and loot right now. But if you do these different challenges for each week on the Master difficulty, you can get a time lost weapon. And basically, these time lost weapons are kind of like adept weapons from like the Nightfall or Trials. They're called like whatever the weapon name is, like Fatebringer parentheses time lost. And what you can do is you can put on adept mods, and these weapons will have the third and fourth columns will have 2 perks you can pick between. So it kind of increases your chances of getting some pretty spicy rolls, and that's why people are wanting to do the Master Vault of Glass for the challenge each week. It's worth noting that this raid is really hard. I have Conqueror, I like doing Grandmasters, I enjoy endgame content, but the number of people that I have bumped into that are like, yeah, this is like a one and done kind of a thing for me is nuts. So I might do a video about predictions of the Master Vault of Glass. So if you also like this channel, you know, stay tuned for that. All right, now how do you actually need to do this challenge for the Gatekeeper and Vault of Glass? Well, whether you do it on Master difficulty or normal, you have to kill the Wyvern and the shielded Minotaur at the same time. So you know, when you have someone going to Mars or someone going to Venus, or I guess they're both going into one of those locations, then you have either the Wyvern or the Minotaur spawns on you. Well, you have to kill both those Wyvern and the Minotaur, one's in Venus, one's in Mars, at the same time. You get like a 3 to 5 second window, I believe, is what I've been hearing from folks, but it seems pretty generous if you're on Master difficulty at least. So you just kind of do this a bunch of times, and then eventually you have where you go to the conflux, and you can kill things in whatever order you want. So you really only have to do the Minotaur and the Wyvern at the same time during the part where you're charging up to get to that final conflux. That says like a new conflux appears before the throne. Once you get to that point, then you're good. Now, if you're on Master difficulty, there are a couple of things that are really worth noting. One, everything hits really hard. Not necessarily one-tapping you, but if you get slapped by a Minotaur and there's ads around because you're defending a plate and you're by yourself, you're probably going to die. If you have a hard time with ad control inside of Mars or Venus, you're most likely gonna die. So you gotta make sure you got lots of defensive stuff on. I would suggest mods of things like concussive dampener, sniper resist, probably have some solar resist if you're able to, stuff like that to really help. Then of course if you're warlocks, you want higher recovery. Titans, you might want higher resilience, so you can put up more of those barricades. And then hunters, you might want to do higher mobility, so maybe you can dodge and go invis. Now here's a couple of just kind of generic tips. Warlocks, I found this was really helpful to run stasis because of that turret. It kind of helps you do ad control if you're on the plates. It helps you to get ad control if you're in the zone by yourself, like a Mars or Venus. And then at the end, it helps with ad control with all the ads. So when you get to the very end, there's a lot of things you got to deal with, and we'll get to that there at the end. So that way, if you guys get to that far, you don't lose it on the first time like we did. So that's some just kind of stuff to keep in mind. For Warlock, probably want to do the stasis turret. For Titan, I would probably consider doing the Thunder Crash because you could stun an Overload and Thunder Crash it. If you got some breach and clear on it, it might take it out in one shot, or at the very least be a lot easier. Then you got Hunters. I'm not really sure what the best option is for hunters. I could see doing something where you can go invisible being really useful. Tether should be able to help with ad control, so maybe do like Tether with Orpheus rigs would maybe be it, but I've only really done this successfully on Warlock. Our team I don't think our team had any hunters, I don't think. If we did, I'm not sure what they were running, so I'm not completely sure what you do for a hunter. I would assume invis with tether, but just let me know down below if you're someone that's watching this and you feel like you found a good solution with hunters. Let us know so that way people can see your comments and have a better idea if they're hunters. I don't do much with hunter, mostly warlock and titan. Alright, now for some weapons, you obviously are going to have Overload because these Overload champions are real tanky. They're very difficult for me to do by myself. It was not like insanely hard, but it was pretty tricky until I got myself a good strat going with the stasis turrets. So if you need to have overload, I would personally suggest a hand cannon, but I'm partial to hand cannons myself. So if you could do like those arc grenades from the seasonal artifact, or an SMG if you don't want to use a hand cannon. Then I'd also suggest using a blinding grenade launcher. I was using a truth teller with blinding grenades. There's other options. I know Code Ignition can have it, and so can the Empty Vessel. So, pick and choose whatever it is that works best for you. I just highly suggest blinding grenades. And then you got two options for heavy that were popular with our team. Most of us, including myself, were doing Anarchy because, it's tried and true, and it helps a lot with ad control, and it's kind of nice to be able to tag and overload and put breach and clear on them, and then you're using your overload hand cannon or SMG to kind of keep shooting out and keep them down, and it's a little bit easier to solo them that way, especially if you got the stasis turret going. So I would suggest Anarchy, but there was a guy on our team who swore to the hand on the Bible that Lament was the way to go when you stun a champion. And it did kind of work pretty well. I will say Lament worked really well when you were doing two people against a champion. Those champions would go down pretty quick. So there's some considerations for you guys for weapons. Now you could have on the Void Raid armor and do superstructure. It's supposed to give kind of like a tractor cannon debuff, and it stacks on top of breach and clear, as well as I think it does something like increase your damage even more. In addition to those buffs, so that might be worth checking out as well. I just didn't really happen to feel like upgrading any armor to use for that stuff, and I didn't have great rolls, so that I didn't use them. So you don't necessarily have to use them, but you could, and that would probably make things a little bit easier. Now for the inside, basically the same thing. If you're able to control the ads on the outside, if you're defending a plate in the Gatekeeper, you can probably be okay on the inside. Just make sure if you die, it's going to basically be a wipe because of how the ads are and the cycles get thrown off, and it just becomes even more challenging. So whatever you're doing if you're planning on being on the inside, is make sure you run builds or you don't die. Now, kind of the last little tip I've got here before we get to the very end of what happens before the encounter is over, is you gotta get really used to one roll. You're probably noticing in this video, I only did the plates the whole time. I spent like 5 hours with the team trying to knock this stuff out. I guess this team specifically was 3 hours, and the night before was 2 hours. And the only reason I felt like I got comfortable at doing the plates and being able to one-man some of these overloads and we got good strats going is because everyone was doing the same role the whole time. So I wouldn't suggest too much trying to do hey, I'm going to do portal one time, then the next time I'm going to do plates, then the next time I'm waiting with the relic. Just stick with something for a while. If you guys feel like your team you got someone that's really struggling with the position and they just aren't figuring it out, maybe it'd be worth trying to switch some stuff around a little bit to kind of get them somewhere where they might feel better. But just know, almost everyone's going to be underpowered. Most people are going to have a hard time staying alive in general. And this is a raid that is literally screaming at everyone, get good, which I think we might talk about a little bit in this video where I have some predictions with Vault of Glass. So just make sure everyone's staying on the same position because you guys will figure it out. Now, when you're on these positions, make sure you're okay with trying to change some stuff around. I went from Nova Bomb, I did Swing Chaos Reach, I did Stasis for a little bit because I was trying to find what worked best for me. So I was changing around some exotics and ended up finding out that the Stasis turret was in fact the best solution for me, and it worked really well. Other people thought that Nova Bomb was the best, and someone else thought Chaos Reach was the best, and then one Titan was like, oh, Banner Shield, this is going to be great. Then another Titan guy was like, oh, I'm going to do the Thunder Crash. So whatever it is, just make sure you kind of be okay with changing some stuff around, and whenever you find what it is that you feel like is best for you, just kind of stick with it. Mess around, see what happens, and if you change too many stuff, you have too many different variables changing, it just gets a little bit harder to change. All right, so now for the very last part. So you've done the champions, and you guys are in those portals. You got your guy in Venus, hey, I got Wyron. The guy on Mars is hey, I got the Praetorian. And you're all right, cool. Are you ready to kill? They're yeah, we're ready to kill. 3, 2, 1, and you just blow the heck out of your Wyron and out of your Minotaur. You've done that. I think it's 4 times. Then you'll see in the bottom left of your screen, a new conflux appears before the Vault of Glass. It means everyone goes out and you have to deal with all the ads. But this time, you're going to have only anti-barriers and a lot of them. So what I suggest you guys do is on your gauntlets, have on Overload Hand Cannon and Overload Scout Rifle. That way, when you get to the very end, you can real quick open up your menu, switch to a scout rifle. I used hung jury, and then go in there. I'd suggest keeping the blinding grenade launchers, the anarchies, whatever you're using before, just switch to a scout rifle or whatever your anti-barrier weapon is. Then at this point, you're going to have lots of ads, lots of champions. You're going to have the Praetorians, and then eventually those Wyrens. So what we found to be the most useful was to split. 2 people are going to go to left, 2 people are going to go to the right, 2 people are going to go to the middle, and you kind of hold down your zone. Obviously, the guy with the relic has to kind of float a little bit, so one guy's going to sort of be on their own. So just kind of be aware of who that ends up being so you can help them out. We found splitting up the areas was way more manageable. The first time or two, when we got to the middle, there were so many ads. We didn't have enough people using scout rifles or anything anti-barrier, and it was just ridiculous. So we learned a couple of things. One was the whole split up the areas into 2-2-2. The other was that these snipers don't put their shield up if they're starting to sack. So if you get a last second, oh crap kind of a thing, you could let a anti-barrier start to stack, and then completely destroy it as fast as you possibly can. We also learned that using supers like crazy was really useful, so that the stasis turrets and the stasis super for warlocks was fantastic. Thunder crashing was a really good, oh crap, there's a bunch of them about to sack kind of a super. And then hunters, I think a tether would be really good, because you would slow down all those enemies from being able just to bum rush the complex, as well as maybe do some extra damage, create more orbs for the rest of your teammates. And that's kind of really what I suggest with the encounter. When you get to that very end, you don't have to kill the Praetorian and the Wyrens at the same time. I think that's designed to be almost impossible anyways, but in case anyone was wondering, you do not have to kill the Wyrens and the Praetorians for the very last complex at the same time. You only have to do it when you're getting that last complex in the Vault of Glass, like the main boss Atheon area, charged up. The rest of the time, you have to do the Wyren and the Minotaur at the same time within a 5-second window. The last part with the complex, it doesn't matter. So hopefully this kind of helped you guys out with giving you some of the things I experienced. This is a tough challenge. It was not that bad on regular. So if you feel like, hey, this is not going anywhere, it could be worth doing it on regular. But note, I believe, my understanding, if I understand other creators like Cross and the TWAB correctly, if you do the challenge on normal, you can't do the challenge again on master. So you would then give up getting that time lost weapon, which ultimately is probably not that big of a deal. Like if you're not super set on doing the title, because you can do the challenge and kind of get 2 for 1, right? If you do the challenge on master, then you get 1 tick towards that triumph for doing all the challenges on master, as well as the challenge in general done. But if you just want to get the challenge because you're trying to farm for that pinnacle loot, and you're really, really struggling, it's like Monday night and you got no hope of being able to finish this tomorrow, might be worth just trying to do it on the regular version, because it's really, really not that hard. It was shockingly easy. When I went from master and I beat it, and then some friend of mine was like, hey, I want to do this on normal. I was like, you sure you don't want to do master? I was like, yeah, I want to do normal. And then we did it on normal really quick. So hopefully this helps you guys out. Let me know down below if this was useful. Stay tuned. I think I'm going to probably have a video go live like a day or 2 after this one about some predictions and thoughts I have for the master difficulty. So if you like this, that might be something you enjoy, just to kind of see, is master difficulty worth it for me? Thank you guys all so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, gamers, because it's the right thing to do, as well as like the video and comment down below if this was helpful, as well as things that you found to help you out. I'm a huge advocate for there's like 1,000 ways to slice a carrot, and I found the one that worked for me. Someone else might have found one that works for them, and the more information we can put out there, the more likely it is for people to be able to beat this thing, because feel so bad for so many people still trying to do this challenge, and I hope this video helps you guys out. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great week, and happy grinding, y'all.